Hello and welcome to episode 144, Will of the People. I hope we are the will of the people. We are wills of the people. I don't know. We are the will of the people. And my name is Dr. KK. I'm the innovation officer at Trinka and Inago. And Tony, are you the will of the people?
No. Well, that's a very good question, but thank you for the introduction. We don't record PubShorts for our own benefit. We record PubShorts because we hope people will want to see it.
Yeah.
And why do we call this episode "Will of the People"? Like with every episode, we give every episode or every episode of PubShorts a name after a particular song, and this is the song by Muse, "Will of the People."
Mhm.
And we're calling this episode out because the song has the song's defined question about who really holds power fits a period of time where examining AI swarms threatening. So let me start again. No, where it fits a week where where examining AI swarms threaten democracy, authorship crises, trust gaps, and the uncomfortable truth that AI won't pay for content the way publishers hoped for, and leaves us asking who will these systems actually serve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Is it
Go on.
for the people?
Finish.
No. Who is it? Who should it benefit?
Yeah, all I'm saying is that Tony, you had a little bit of trouble because we are actually covering a lot of different issues in society as well as in academic publishing, which are related to AI, and these are
Yeah.
difficult questions, and that's what we are hoping to uncover. But we'll start with a very sort of interesting sort of epistemology related research paper on archive. So I'm switching to my screen. So this one's called "Critically Engaged Pragmatism of Scientific Norm and Social Pragmatist Epistemology for AI Science Evaluation Tool." That's a mouthful, and I acknowledge that. I mean, it's quite as much of a mouthful as Tony has. Tony struggled with the
If
first.
I were a non-English speaker,
Yeah.
as an English speaker, I find that title almost difficult to absorb. I can't imagine how difficult it must be for a non-native English speaker.
Well, that you're speaking on behalf of the entirety of public who consider that science is difficult to pass in general, and that's something that I think the scientific community has to address in terms of lay communication. But anyway, what does this paper talk about? It discusses the challenge of using AI tools to evaluate scientific research, and the author is concerned that these tools might be misused. This is due to issues with defining their purpose, their portability across different use cases, as well as the technological priorities that might overshadow the epistemic fit. The paper proposes a solution, a social pragmatist epistemology, and it includes a norm as well with that name, critically engaged pragmatism. The core idea, Tony, I mean, if you're confused about what this is that AI science evaluation tools should not be seen as unbiased judges of scientific credibility. This is a core message. And
Yeah.
instead, they should be subjects of critical discussion within the scientific community, just like any other scientific practice. So AI tools themselves need to be sort of critically evaluated in by the scientific community, just like they evaluate science itself. I think it's a very sort of good discussion point, and we probably do not do as much research in terms of evaluating AI for the different use cases within science itself. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, my general thought is I find it really encouraging. There are so many papers which are evaluating and assessing the efficacy of the research communication, the research scholarly communication process. You know, for those of you who don't know what epistemology is the theory of knowledge, which is especially with regard to methods, validity, scope, and the distinction that's justified between belief and opinion. So, there needs to be some kind of measures. There needs to be some kind of controls. You cannot assume that everything you read on screen is absolutely 100% correct and honest and has integrity. You always have to question. So no, I welcome papers like this very much.
Right. Tony, another question. Do you think AI can be used for mentoring younger peer reviewers or early career researchers who are starting on their peer review journeys?
Well, actually, I think yes, I do. I think there is a role for models to be used to help get reviewers into that sort of review mindset, or to give them
Mhm.
at least a structure,
Mhm.
a structured approach. Yeah, I do believe there is a use for it.
Then I question why you do not find yourself listed as one of the authors of this paper on Archive, which is Position on LLM Assisted Peer Review, Addressing Reviewer Gap Through Mentoring and Feedback. So I don't know why, Tony, you're not a part of this research group.
I obviously my research post to this particular university in South Korea hasn't come through yet.
Yes. So this creating I mean the AI field is growing rapidly, so this creates a reviewer gap because there's more content coming in, and this gap is what the paper is talking about. This is the reviewer gap, and the gap has two parts: a volume gap due to too many papers, and a quality gap due to the lack of experienced reviewers. And
Yeah,
the current AI approaches that try to automatically generate reviews have problems like hallucination and a lack of deep understanding. So I would partially agree, as in we can have sophisticated systems that at least mitigate some of these concerns that the paper raises. And the paper proposes using AI as a tool to help human reviewers and not replace them, which is overarching principle. It is the same that we have been talking about, Tony. But it suggests one. There are two systems that it suggests: one to mentor reviewers over time, and another to give feedback on their written reviews. It's I think it is the same thing in a sort of different slice of the same sort of a thing in terms of training and mentoring the reviewers. And the goal is to improve reviewer skills and overall quality of peer review, making the system more sustainable. And the key principle for good reviews are fidelity, clarity, fairness, proportionality, and constructiveness. So that's one way that this paper is assessing. But the core point is that AI can obviously assist peer reviewers in terms of doing peer review, but also can help mentor younger peer reviewers so that the peer review quality at the baseline can improve, which addresses this reviewer gap. So, your thoughts on it?
no, absolutely. We have as you know, KK, we have a tool which we're going to be bringing out very soon,
Mm-hmm.
which is in the final stages of development. But one of the benefits, one of the actual use cases there, is for um, the reviewer to learn how to create a review.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them a structured approach, and also for the publisher to help the publisher to find new reviewers and to encourage them to train new reviewers. Well, that they'll have resources available to them, which will help them to provide that training or that, at least that support for new reviewers. So no, I think it's a really really good use. Again, question mark is if you're going to have an AI that's mentoring the reviewer,
Mm-hmm.
somebody has to mentor the AI.
Right.
Somebody has to make sure what the AI is training is going to be correct, accurate, honest, has integrity, etc.
Yeah, and this can also be sort of like a feedback loop in the sense that AI presents the reviewers with information, and the reviewers then vet it, sort of like the reviewers review the AI's response, and eventually that feedback loop
Yeah,
improves the quality of both the parties in this case.
and like I think it's in a previous episode of PubShorts KK, I think if there's a feedback loop as well,
Yeah.
where if the reviewer identifies a reference that's been created by the AI
Mm-hmm.
that is wrong or hallucinated, that it can be flagged, and it should be flagged, and that flag should be shared by everyone that's using that tool.
All right, moving on to the next story. It is from somebody who works for Elsevier, and it's called Empowering. It's titled Empowering Researchers by Bridging the AI Trust Gap, written by Maxime Khan, a senior VP of A&G Solutions, Elsevier. So maybe, Tony, you know this person. It's
Yeah.
this article discusses the growing concern among researchers regarding the trustworthiness of AI tools, because AI tools are, after all, black boxes, and it's not explainable. Many of these tools are not explainable, and explainability is a core aspect of AI integrations as well. So this creates sort of a trust gap, and that's what this is about. The lack of transparency, Maxime says that it is problematic because the research traditionally values explainability and this ability to verify sources, and the potential for AI to disempower researchers and to lead to flawed conclusions is a significant risk, and we've been talking about that as well. So, to close this gap, technology and AI must be developed collaboratively with the research community itself. The community participation is what I think he is campaigning for, and this means building tools that understand researchers' workflows and needs. And key solutions he suggests include ensuring transparency about AI's corpus, the thing that the AI uses to sort of get information from, how it is used, and providing clear clear provenance of for information, which is again in terms of sourcing the content. And we've talked about, let's get FTR providing the access to the right tools and then making it visible, etc. So all of this would make things more explainable. And he obviously is talking about Leap Space, which we have covered in previous episodes. How Leap Space is providing, I guess, reviewers with a platform where AI tools can link to scholarly content in all the corpuses, let's say Elsevier, as well as all the other publishers who have signed up for it, which obviously increases the trust. So that is basically the point of the article. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you think this is the way that the industry needs to go, and so that researchers move from, let's say, things like ChatGPT into using more sort of nuanced tools?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's absolutely the way it's going to go. We're going to see more and more focused tools being generated, being created around the research in the research workspace. Well, when you were talking about Leap Space, it makes me. We were thinking about it in a previous episode that kind of the when we were talking about what should responsibility go hand in hand with credit. And of course, if you're going to take credit for something, you need to be responsible for something. And I don't object to using an AI workspace to generate references. It's absolutely the responsibility of the author to make sure that those references are accurate, correct. They need to validate the references that AI is actually recommending to them to avoid those hallucinations. So yes, we're going to see more use of these AI supported workspaces, but we're also going to see more validation work going on in the background to ensure that what's being created, what's being suggested and recommended isn't rubbish.
All right, moving on to Tony, the next main story. This is probably the most cool story that I would like your perspectives on. So this is a guest post written by Jonathan Wone. I guess that's the best way to. I don't know. How do you pronounce this name, Tony?
Well,
Wone.
good question. Wone, I think.
Wone.
Wone.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Wone.
So it's titled AI is not going to pay for content, at least not how you're hoping it will. And so the main argument that Jonathan makes is that AI companies won't be the content windfall publishers are hoping for. The core issue is that AI companies are burning cash, and the licensing deals so far are experimental, not sustainable revenue streams. And there's a crucial difference between training AI, education, and inference, that is, referring to AI for practice, for example. And the publishers are focused on the former in terms of training, but the real value for especially the scientific researcher reader is in the latter in terms of inference. And training revenue is limited because AI companies want to minimize data costs. Open source models are competitive, and courts are leaning towards fair use for training, and the need for bulk data is decreasing for training AI models. Inference, however, where AI is used to answer user queries, is a more promising market because it has recurring demand, clear attribution, and established monetization paths similar to academic journals. And the post concludes that the publisher should focus on the inference market, not the training market, for future revenue opportunities. Now, this is very much in your ballpark, I think, in terms of you being in the industry for such a long time, and you predicting that AI licensing is going to be the big thing in 2026 or 5 for that matter.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, it's no different from the historical publisher licensing deals that happened where, if you're creating an ANI index, an abstracting indexing database that you want to index the publisher's content, and maybe you want to sort of surface stuff that's in the full text, you pay for that content. It's not unusual. And there may be a larger upfront fee for the backfile issue, for backfile access, and then a smaller ongoing fee to continue to access that content. Right. So, and it should be no different when it comes to using AI content. If the rights are not open and completely, free of any sort of commercial use, there's got to be a rights fee associated with it. So all parties have to respect the rights, otherwise the system just falls apart.
So just sort of connecting the dots, Leap Space, the publishers have agreed to sort of to provide their content for inference purposes primarily, not for training, as far as I understand. A researcher can go into Leap Space and refer to, or with the use of the AI in Leap Space, can refer to, let's say, I think from Sage, if I'm not mistaken, Tony. So that inferencing, should you think that publishers should look for that to sell the access to that for inference to big AI companies instead of just for training purposes? What are your thoughts?
Oh gosh, that's a really difficult one. I mean, would you expect to pay to have your content indexed in Web of Science or in InSpec or in these large abstract linking databases, you would expect there to be some kind of monetization if there's any access to the full text to train the content. But if it's for inference purposes only, I'm not sure.
And
As long as they're doing it, because the inference, if you're allowing access to references, it's only going to boost access to your content,
mhm.
make your content more discoverable. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'm not sure. I don't think there should be if it's for reference purposes only. But if it's for training purposes, then yes.
Interesting. I think I'm going to side with Jonathan, right? If I'm not mistaken, in this argument, in the sense that I think there is sort of a dead end, and many people are going to start discovering research through, let's say, ChatGPT, for example, right? And in that case, it's like Google. Google is, I guess, not paying people sites to be indexed, in the sense that sites want to be indexed in Google. It's not the other way around. So from that point of view, it's not. But at the same time, because eventually the publisher revenue is also related to people landing on the websites and using the publisher websites themselves, and that's probably going to decrease. From that point of view, I think there is some scope in terms of exploring this. But I'm not an
And don't
expert in
forget,
this field.
there are a lot of journal publishers out there that are
Mm.
society publishers where it's not about the revenue, it's about the
Right.
sustainability of their journals.
Yeah. I mean,
So if their content is being used and there's no financial um, um, compensation, then
right.
those journals are at risk.
Right. Right. All right. The next one is also from Scholarly Kitchen. It is guest post. The Ghost in the Machine. Why generative AI is a crisis of authorship and not just a tool. I think it's pretty much what we've been saying. So the author. Mahmoud Anwar argues that undisclosed use of AI for writing is a new form of ghost authorship, and publishers, even though they agree that AI authorship is not acceptable, the real problem is that AI generating large parts of the manuscript without disclosure, that he considers as the real problem. And this is like traditional ghost authorship but with technology. And he continues that traditional ghost authorship involves uncredited human beings who have contributed to the sort of research manuscript content, and AI ghost authorship means an algorithm provides intellectual content without attribution, and this creates gaps in accountability and transparency. And the article proposes, I think this is where, the proposes minor, as in the spectrums of AI use. I think these are the spectrums. So minor stylistic use, substantive text generation use, and research data integrity. So the substantive use requires disclosure and human verification. So this is basically the argument made. So what do you think, Tony, about this classification? Do you think that this is more, I mean, it's better than just simply saying that AI, has been used, and the disclosure is just maybe at not at different level. STM classification says at 9 different types of AI used in the context of manuscript content creation. So what do you think? Is this a
I
good
think
way?
it's a good starting point, but I would urge people to look at the STM recommendations in a bit more detail to see how that some of these categories can be broken down in a bit more depth. But yeah, I
Right.
think it's a great starting point.
Right. And I also agree. There's a difference in using AI to do stylistic changes, even proofreading for that matter, as opposed to text generation. And these are completely different things, and these require different sort of lenses to evaluate, as well as different types of disclosure. That's the way I feel it, and I think it's a
Yeah, yeah,
good point
yeah,
that the author is making. All right.
yeah.
Moving on to the next story. This is this is what I think stumped you for a second. How malicious AI swarms can threaten democracy. It is from Science. It's a policy forum, and it's an artificial intelligence related article. So the main thrust of the article is that how the combination of agentic AI and large language models can be used for sophisticated information warfare, and generative AI tools can scale up propaganda, making it more convincing and harder to distinguish from human created content. And we
Yeah,
talked about
yeah.
Chrome starting this process of sort of letting content makers for websites declare whether that's AI generated content or not. I mean, this is related to that, but at the political spectrum. And these AI systems, the writer of the article, the author, states that when fused with multi-agent architectures, can coordinate autonomously to infiltrate communities and create false consensus. Now, I understand that this is not directly related to science itself, but at the same time, pseudoscience is something that the entire scientific system is battling, and with bad actors getting agentic systems as well as maybe large language models to put together, I mean, they can also create a problem inside. So do you agree with that, and do you think that this is a concern for science as an
I,
establishment? Yeah.
I don't think it's just a concern for science as an establishment. I think it's a concern generally
Mm-hmm.
for democracies, how much you can trust the information that you see on social media, that you see on websites, you see on the news, how much of that content is true and is honest and is accurate, and how much of it's been generated by AI. The BBC makes a big point about having a fact checking
Mm-hmm.
service, and you see that more and more every time you see a news report now from the BBC. More and more, the BBC fact checking service is being stated as a source.
Mm.
Um, I, I personally trust large news organisations like the BBC to generate honest and fair news stories, but that's not always the case.
So let me ask you this question. So researchers have always been sort of trusted because the research outputs are created, by human beings. And when in the modern age, the last 4 or 5 years or so, researchers have been using AI. And from that point of view, in terms of trust, I mean, isn't it a part of the core manuscript creation as well? And it's a very important sort of message for people to sort of be self sort of reflecting in terms of when they're using AI and whether they are responsible, as in their responsibility lies in vetting any content that they put in a research manuscript, which is eventually going to be submitted to a journal or something like that. And this is basically
Yeah,
responsible AI in
I
another.
agree.
Yeah. So
I agree. I absolutely agree.
do you think that there needs to be more sort of education in terms of making researchers aware of what responsible AI means and how they should use AI and what is permissible, what is not permissible, etc. Do you think that?
I think so. Before I answer that question, I will say that bad actors is not exclusive to bad actors in scholarly communication is not exclusive to the AI era.
Mhm.
There have been retractions, there have been cases of research misconduct for years and years and years. I mean, it's not a new thing.
It's the
In
amplification.
today,
Yeah, it's the
it's the
amplification.
amplification,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And in this era of AI, it's absolutely essential that everybody within that ecosystem understands how AI is being used. There has to be complete and honest transparency around the use of AI.
Mm.
And KK, as you know, we've talked about this in previous episodes of PubShorts. We have this thing called the Responsible AI movement, where we've been trying to drill into researchers the absolutely critical importance of openness and disclosure in terms of how they use AI. Because if they're not, they will be picked off. Any misconduct will be found. And if they're open and honest up front about how AI is being used, then the likelihood is that there's a greater likelihood that there won't be any sort of problems in the future.
Right, and I think for those interested in what
And we seem to have some data. We seem some data problems.
Wait, I didn't catch that, Tony.
No, so I think we've got some data issues because they seem to be lagging a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. So for those who are interested in knowing more about Inago's responsible AI movement, just search on Google responsible AI and Inago, and you'll find a wonderful website which explains what we consider as responsible AI and what are the different sort of means with which researchers can learn more about AI. There are a couple of interesting tools in terms of generating disclosure statements as well, and most importantly, it sort of shows our passion in terms of what we believe, how we can help researchers in being responsible and in ensuring that all the content that they eventually put out into the journal, into a journal, is vetted by them. So that's something that we are passionate about.
Yeah,
So
and we're going to be relaunching the website quite soon as well. So please go look at it now. But even in a few weeks' time, you'll find it even more useful, more resources to help you in your disclosures.
All right, Tony, quick hits time. Are you ready?
Yes.
And this is the time of in PubShorts that you will say that okay, you cannot keep track of what's happening in AI in global AI brands. But we start first with the very non-obvious news that the US and China are collaborating more closely on AI than you think, and this is about the collaborations in terms of research as well as despite the chip-related things that the Trump administration has clamped down, there have been so many collaborative studies judging purely by the number of Chinese authors collaborating with number of authors from the US in the same conference papers based on a newer IPS dataset. So this is not surprising for you and me. Any thoughts on this, that China and US are still collaborating despite the Trump administration's efforts?
I'm not surprised. I'm delighted that they are. I mean, I think I think in a world where there's increasing collaborations between countries like this, I think it gives us great assurances for the future.
Right. And Tony, Chinese new model time announcements. Because Kimi K25, I think we covered this many episodes ago. It's visual agentic intelligence. So this is a new model announcement. So an advanced visual agent model focusing on coding and autonomous workflows, and it introduces a self-directed agent swarm capable of managing complex tasks, and it significantly enhances coding with vision, turning conversations into front end design. So if somebody is interested in making a website or a UI for their app, this is a great model. I don't know. I just wanted to highlight the fact that the models are improving so fast, and considering that we just covered China and AI collaboration, this is from China. Obviously, I think it's from, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, Alibaba. Anyway, so any thoughts on this?
As long as there are clever people like you, KK, who can explain the benefits of how this is going to work and help somebody developing new code, then I'm interested to see how this progresses.
Yeah, if at all you're wondering why we are discussing this, Kimi 2 is a very small model based on distilling technology, and it's competing with OpenAI. That's a main point that or this has Claude, Gemini, and OpenAI being compared with the Blue Bars K, which is Kimi
And
K.
what do you see to be the main applications of this?
For coding UXs, as in the let's say for the front end of websites and everything, by just chatting with it. It's very easy to make, and it's much better than,
Wow,
let's say,
wow,
other. Yeah. All right.
yeah.
So Tony, we talked about Apple Watch. Apple Watch integrated into ChatGPT's health, and somebody did a test, and apparently the results are not so great, and that's probably teething problems. So a journalist experimented with ChatGPT health by giving their, as in that person's Apple Watch data, but ChatGPT did not process it well, and showed a lot of different sort of incorrect thing, including an F grade in health, which is, I mean, just wanted to bring to the point. I think you expressed the concern that is it safe for let's say users to trust AI in terms of interpreting their sort of health metrics through a, let's say, wearable device. And this is an example of how AI could wrong, and this is also a good example as to why AI guardrails are needed, regardless of whether you are using ChatGPT or
Yeah.
for analyzing your health data or using it for research use cases. Any thoughts on this?
You know, there's going to be experimentation and testing and pioneering work developing. At some point, there will be a breakthrough where you'll be able to use these tools, but obviously, we're still in development phase, clearly.
Right.
So I welcome papers like this, which look at critically analyze positively and negatively how this
Mhm.
content has been used.
Right, and finally, this has been the rage of the AI world for the last maybe a couple of weeks. So I picked up one representative article. The thing that we are talking about is Moltbot, which was originally Claude and it was changed to Moltbot because of the confusion with Claude model. But the main thing is that it is the coolest thing right now, as per all the AI experts. And it's the news article that we're covering is called "New AI Assistant Open Claw Acts Like Your Digital Servant, but experts warn of security risk." So this is from cnet.com, but you should know about the Open Claw or Moltbot. So it is a groundbreaking AI assistant that actually performs tasks on your computer through messaging apps like WhatsApp and Slack, unlike basic chatbots. And the project has gone viral and gaining tens of thousands of GitHub stars already, attracting attention from prominent figures in the AI and tech community. And the viral success obviously was accompanied by chaos, including crypto scammers hijacking social media handles and everything. But the point is that this is the new thing. I mean, people are more and more sort of interested in agentic sort of AI systems that work with your data and your applications and do things for you, like a digital personal assistant, but instead of just getting you or advising you to do things, doing things themselves, like texting and everything. So another thing to keep an eye on. Any thoughts on Molt bot so far?
Uh, well, I've never been a big user of DPAs, digital personal assistants. It's never been, a part of my everyday routine. But I know people who do use them and find them extremely useful. So they're going to, I'd be interested to see how they respond to some of that. It not just prompts you to do the task, but actually does the task for you as
Mhm.
well. Quite what's left for the human at the end of the day is left to be seen. But I mean, I would have concerns around security. There would be an issue for me in terms of how, if I am giving access to my data,
Mhm.
you know, what's to ensure that data is not going to be surfaced somewhere else?
A valid.
Passwords, bank account details, etc.
Right. I mean, that's always going to be there. But yeah, I get your point, and that's a valid concern as well. All right. So anyway, we come to the end of episode 144, Will of the People. We discuss a lot of different things, but what we haven't discussed is Tony telling you that there are 143 episodes that you can watch. right?
Okay, this is where I press the play button to remind people that yes, this is you can view all previous 143 episodes over on our PubShorts playlist on YouTube. Just search for Inago PubShorts, and you'll have all previous 143 episodes there. Give yourself a month or two to watch all of them, but there's a lot of them. But we do encourage you to press the like button. We do encourage you to share the content with your colleagues if you find it interesting. Leave us some comments, suggestions for future topics, and we'd love to hear from you.
All right, and until the next time, this is Dr. KK signing off on behalf of Tony as well as the rest of the team that helps us bring such content. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, Tony.
See you in the next one.